What I wanted to share with you today is, I think it may not be obvious unless you go out of the way to look, but there are a lot of members of this organization that are actively engaged in serving other veterans and doing other excellent work. And I want to make sure that you know who they are. And this is an updated report of what's on the website. And I'm confirming it today, and assuming that no one gives me any feedback that it's incorrect, then I'm going to ask John Bird to update our website with this new report and this new list of the activities, the functions, the projects, the initiatives that we're all engaged in one way or another, and the leaders of those initiatives that are taking care of those things. And one at a time, I want to ask a few of the people represented there to come up and talk a little bit about what they do and how you could be involved as well. And I'll start with Kerry King. Even though Kerry is no longer active working attorney, he hasn't retired. He's finding something to do that he feels value in doing. I'm not sure if that's going to work for him, but anyway, Kerry does a lot of wonderful stuff for a lot of veterans, and I want to start with him. We can just leave that up, Dad, if you don't mind.
Against you for all the business you just cost me. I'm still recruiting business for the firm, so because I'm semi-retired, please call us if you need some legal help. That's the commercial, and now a word from our sponsor. I want to talk to you first about, and I don't know if this is in the order we've got it here, but I want to talk to you first about the Veterans Court system. Judge Bedford, who's sitting right there, our friend Jackson Bedford, myself and another guy named Scott Delius were involved originally in the inception both of the court itself as well as what is called the mentor program. And that was in Fulton County, and that was the initial beginning of this state's Veterans Court system. At that time, Fulton was the first court, and it was operating under a federal grant. Now there are, out of the total of 82 judicial circuits in the state of Georgia, there are now 41 circuits, as of the last count that I had, that all have veterans courts. I want to share a few things with you about the difference. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what the court system calls the accountability courts. Accountability courts are courts that have been in business about 10 or 15 years in order to take people who mostly had drug addiction or alcoholism issues that have led to criminal behavior. And instead of just taking those people and incarcerating them, they devised a program, basically an 18-month to 2-year program that operated in 4 to 6 phases, during which they had regular drug and alcohol testing, they had case management, and they had therapy. In addition, they were given steps up for employment, which is one of the key factors. They were given assistance in getting housing, and they were, in this 18-month program, they actually graduated and have some very large graduating classes in every county. So that's the accountability, what we call the accountability courts. What happened is, a number of years ago, the state of Georgia and actually states all over the country took the accountability model and added to it a mentor program. Now, the mentors are not lawyers. They're not intended to be lawyers. They're not therapists. What a mentor is, and we've got about a dozen people in this room who have been mentors, and when the program started, and Jackson and I both recruited up here to get some help in Fulton County, this organization stepped up big time. We had the first batch of mentors for the Fulton County program. In the metro area, there are now programs in DeKalb, in Gwinnett, in Fulton, of course, in Cherokee, and in Cobb. And I understand that Henry County is working on one, as is Clayton County, may have already put theirs in. Now, Let me tell you what the mentor is. I've already told you what it's not, but the mentor is a person who is preferably a veteran, because the Veterans Court obviously consists of only veterans. They have to produce a valid DD-214, and it really, as long as they're not involved in a violent crime, they can be eligible to participate in the Veterans Court program. The mentor gives them an attaboy when they need it, and a kick in the butt when they need it, or an attaboy when they deserve it, and a kick in the butt when they need it. And the program now has been extremely successful statewide, in Fulton County specifically. But let me tell you the problem we've got now. When it first came out, it was in vogue, and Jackson and I and Scott Delius helped write the SOP, along with, I might add, Ron Sherman, who helped us really put together a very formal SOP. The trouble with it is, now that it's been in business for a while, it kind of out of sight, out of mind. Fulton County, for example, who has 40 people in the program, and our original concept was a mentor one-for-one with a mentee, now has one mentor for 40 people. So I want you to both consider that as a volunteering. I will give you all the details as far as what your commitment might be. Basically, it's either going to be, if it's in Fulton, it's going to be every other Friday. Judge Henry Newkirk is now the Veterans Court judge. And if it's in DeKalb or Cobb, I think they meet once a week on a Friday. Other than that, maybe some telephone calls. I'll tell you, I just have to tell you this one anecdote. Mark Walker was one of the first mentors. And I walked in one day at Jefferson Street, and I saw Mark sitting at the table with his mentee. And I saw him doing something. I didn't know exactly what he was doing. So a couple hours later, I went over to him and I said, "What were you doing with your mentee?" He said, "Well, nobody had ever taught this man how to budget. So what Mark did was he took a bunch of envelopes and he wrote rent, electricity, phone, and he actually showed this man that this is how you budget. You take a little bit out of your weekly pay and you stick it in for rent. If it's, you get paid every week, and Mark, nobody had ever helped this man in his lifetime do something like that. So that's the kind of thing mentors do. I will tell you realistically, it probably would involve, in the end of a month, 8 to 10 hours a month of your time. Mark, you agree with that? And any of the others who have done mentor work, you agree with that? And all you really have to be is kind of there for the guy. You're not there to cover their butt. You're not there to do the hard work for them. They have to do that. But I highly recommend it to you. It is a great program, and we've had tremendous success with it. And I would tell you that it'll make you feel good, better than anything you ever got paid for. So, thank you. Okay.
The opportunities that we have to make a real difference in people's lives are amazing, and you don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do any of them, but you would be blessed, and your life will be transformed if you start doing something for somebody else if you're not already. Tony, there you are. Yes, would you come and talk to us about what you do? We'd like to know what he does, don't we? Some idea?
I promise you I won't be long, but I'm involved in 3 of the committees that the AVVBA is involved with. Early on, we got involved with the Georgia Department of Veterans Services, Dan Holtz's organization, and it's been a very good relationship. In March 2015, this organization became a partner with GDVS to conduct the state's Thank You Georgia Vietnam Veterans Program. This was an event that was held at the Georgia Capitol in the North Wing. It was the beginning of a campaign from the state to recognize all Georgia's Vietnam veterans, a total of about 300,000 people. On the day of the event, the governor was one of the principal participants. The other gentleman was Lieutenant General Claude Kicklighter, who was at that time the chairman of the 50th Anniversary Commemoration Commission. He was a Georgia Vietnam veteran from someplace down south. He got the first certificate. We have continued to work with GDVS to recognize Vietnam veterans wherever they are in this state. We've done several things here at the luncheons to honor veterans, and we will continue to do so. One other thing we did with the Georgia Department of Veterans Service was in September of 2015, the state held a POW MIA Day. Again, Governor Deal sponsored the event, was the principal speaker. We had a commemoration, we had a speech by one of the principal officers of the National POW MIA Association. Both of those events at the Capitol exposed this organization to a large number of very important people in business, in the political community, and particularly in the veterans organizations. We continue to work with GDVS, and we'll continue to work with GVS to honor and recognize Vietnam veterans wherever they are. One of the other things I'm involved in is, it says legacy. I am not the legacy person. The guy who started the legacy program is actually Max Torrance. Back in 2014, he came up with the idea of doing something to offset the view, which still exists to some extent, of the Vietnam veteran. It started with collecting memorabilia with the Atlanta History Center. We had all kinds of photographs. Some of us were involved at Veterans History Project at that time, so it was kind of a natural fit. It just folded in. From that, we have evolved into the Vietnam exhibit at the History Center. Bob Babcock's book about the recollections of Vietnam veterans. The Symposium just a few days ago at the History Center, and one ongoing project with the History, building a documentary, not to offset Ken Burns, but to say our own piece about what Vietnam veterans are, did, and are doing. We'll hear more about that in the future, but it's something we're working on. We are creating a legacy for ourselves. How many people here have done a VHP interview, a Veterans History Project interview? Just give me a show of hands. Okay, need more. I would tell you that the people who have not yet done it, you're doing a disservice to your family. The people who are most interested in what you did is your family. I'll give you an example. Sue, our resident historian, her grandfather was in the Army, served in World War I, World War II. Her father was in the Army Air Corps in World War II. Neither of them said much about anything. So Sue comes of age and she's trying to understand what their lives were like, and she went through a great deal of effort to put together some of those pieces. She didn't do it as a historian, she did it as a daughter, okay? It's your family who needs to hear this stuff from you, rather than somebody who got the information out of a book. Take the opportunity that's available to you. Go back and see her on your way out today. One more thing.
What can we do to help what you do? That's what I'm
Oh, participate. If we do have more events with GDVS, just get involved. I mean, there are lots of things for people to do. Just ask. You know, somebody will find something for you to do. But the last, and probably from my perspective, the most important, is I am the liaison to the Georgia National Cemetery, whatever that means. Dan Holtz has been involved with the Georgia National Cemetery since it opened in 2006. He had to leave that position, and I slid into it because I live in Ackworth, and it was kind of a natural fit for me to be up there. Cemetery is up in Canton, Georgia. It is on land donated by Scott Hudgens. Many of you know who he is. I'm a member of the advisory council. That's a group of people who are there to help the cemetery with things that the cemetery cannot do, which is fundraising and organizing events. We have, I don't know whether we spoke at one of the prior meetings about the Carillon that we were trying to fund for the cemetery. This group, you cannot solicit funds on federal property. So all solicitations had to be done off-site. I'm happy to say we got the money. The tower is on order. Some of the site prep has begun. Where we are, though, is the National Cemetery Association hasn't provided the final approval. So this package is working its way through the maze of offices at the National Cemetery Association collecting fingerprints. What I can tell you is we will have a tower. We just don't know when it will be up. Probably early next week sometime. Some of the other things the cemetery does, or the advisory group does, is Memorial Day observance. We coordinate the placement of flags on the headstones that are up there at the cemetery and provide a celebratory service for the family members and for the community in general up there. They're very well attended. We're coming into the season of remembrance. Okay, you see on your table the cards for Wreaths Across America. The target this year for the cemetery is we need to raise about $160,000 to put a wreath at every headstone up there. The wreaths will be placed on Saturday, December 14th at 11 a.m., followed by a short service or ceremony at noon. If you decide to come up there, I tell you come up early because it is crowded. People come from all over to participate. It's not just families paying a respect to their loved one. We need your support. I can tell you a headstone without a wreath at that time of year is a very sad sight. So please don't wait for somebody else to say it to show thanks to veterans. These people who are interred up there are much like the people in this room. There are no heroes. They're all people who raised their hand, did what the government told them to do, came back, raised a family, participated in the community, and now they're in a place that the government has given them. It's a national shrine. So please, either personally make a donation, or if you're aware of a business or somebody or group, please pass the information on. Yeah, Mark.
What was that date?
December 14th, Saturday, December 14th. Okay, thank you. We need your support.
John Vale.
Yeah.
Come talk to us, brother.
Okay.
Don't run.
Try my best.
We're not going to do the drawing yet. I know you want to carry that back into this one. Carry it with you.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
Secure your blanket.
That blanket right there, put it on, I'll be okay. How y'all doing? Oh, good, I'm glad. Max Torrance, boy, what a, man, easy does it, guys, don't hurt yourself. Max Torrance, back in January of 2005, started working with the USO with Mary Lou, and we have been doing that every year since then. Several years ago, he came by and asked if I wanted to do this, and I said yes, and now I'm going, oh my gosh. But no, and I enjoy doing it. I just want you to know that. We have raised well over $150,000 that we have given to the USO since 2005, and to me that's a huge number that we've given them. And that comes from, you know, these little raffles that we do here, plus the Kroger USO round up for the troops, that type of thing. That's where we raised the money, although we had, what did we have, Max? Where the union was, when the Braves says, we had the parking there for, yeah, for the parking that we had there. And when they saw that we made that kind of money, they said, we'll take that back and do it ourselves. That's the union, you know how the union works. But no, that's what happened. Say again?
We haven't seen a dollar since they took it back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the concern I have is that I have run out of these things that I give away. And the bigger concern is, in the last year or so, it's difficult for me to get enough people for the 2 Fridays that we're down there, and we normally like to have about 6 for each Friday. And what's happening is I only have people that do it almost every month, and there's just very few. So I'm asking that I'd like to see more of you guys to help us out down there. We need the help. And so please volunteer, and that's what I'm asking. And please go out and talk to, whether it's a Kroger or Publix or whoever it might be, get a gift cards or whatever, or books or whatever you can get. But go out and ask, okay, and tell them what it's for. And I got to tell you what, they will help you out. There is no doubt about it. I went to Publix here about 6 months ago, or maybe a little longer than that, and asked if they would give us some sweets for me to take down on the Fridays that I'm there. So when we're there, I go in, and there's normally 3 or 4 boxes of, I mean, all kinds of wonderful sweet stuff for the troops. So what happens down there is we are known worldwide for our chili dogs. We have the greatest goddamn chili dogs in the world, and we make those there. We get anywhere from maybe, we have bad Fridays where there might be maybe 25, 30, I should say around 50 to maybe 150 to 200 people that are coming in from Fort Bragg, Fort Rutgers, et cetera, that type of thing. So we have, and we're there from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. You're assigned different jobs that I give you, and depending how good you are at those jobs, you might have the opportunity to do it again. If you're not, I'll put you someplace else. Just kidding, just kidding. But we would like more participation. I need gifts for even next month. If I don't have them, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but I need 10 gifts. We give 10 things away each month. So please get out, find some things for me, bring them to me next month. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
I'll pull my skirt down, my slip's showing. I must confess, part of the issue with the volunteers of the USO is I was unaware, and I have not communicated effectively, that we still do very actively engage in the USO at the airport. And I've done it a number of times. It's been a couple of years since I've done it, and it's very fun, very gratifying to do. And so at the risk of over-communicating, I'm going to be sending you opportunities, a few at a time, where you can engage in some of these service projects, some of these initiatives, because I'm hoping that one of those things will resonate with you and you'll want to participate, maybe 2, maybe 3, not every one. I want to end this little series with one last mention about the VEO. As of last month, the AVVBA is officially a supporter of the VEO, which means that we are open to participate in services to help the homeless veterans that they serve. There is one particular opportunity I want to mention to you today. There'll be many, many more, and I will not inundate you with those, but I will carefully lay these out to you 1 or 2 at a time. They have veterans that they are not necessarily homeless veterans. They serve veterans that are struggling with some aspect of their life, many of whom are homeless and they're in the process of becoming self-sufficient. But many are just jobless and they come there for assistance. And they have a guy there that helps them learn how to interview. We would really use some volunteers just to sit one-on-one with some of these veterans to help coach them on the interview process. It's a very simple task. Be something I'll reach out to you and see if you would like to do that. So that's kind of there's a whole lot of other things obviously people are doing here. I just wanted to illustrate some of the things that I know that we're doing that some of you may or may not be aware of, so you have some sense of that. The next thing I want to talk about is a report from our symposium. I understand we had a symposium recently. I heard about it, and I would like Alan Gravel to give us a little update on that.
For those of you who didn't make it, we had the symposium Saturday at the Atlanta History Center. We filled the house, which was one of our big objectives, to try to make sure we had enough people there. I thought it was interesting that only about 25% of the people who attended were AVVBA members. The other 3/4 of the people were from other organizations, and mostly veterans, I think. One of the speakers, or the moderator, Del Vecchio, asked for veterans to stand up, and it's pretty much everybody. Some family members and friends and things like that, but there were a lot of veterans there. We had probably the preeminent speaker on, or expert, I should say, on the history of the Vietnam War there, Bob Turner. And for those of you who heard him, we talked to him Friday night before, and then I heard him Saturday, and he was just fascinating, all the things that he knows. If you could sit through his account of not being successful at bringing the orphans out of Phnom Penh and not feel the emotion in his voice, you're a harder person than I am. The other two speakers were great, Michael Court and Mark Moyer. Mark is writing right now the second of I think what will be a series of 3 books about the history of Vietnam. His first book was acknowledged by the other two speakers as being the best history and best account of the war. We need to try to find him, get him here as a speaker after his second volume is produced, because that's when most of us were there. I want to thank several people I can't think of everybody who helped on this, because a lot of people did. A lot of people participated, but I can't not say that Jim Dixon did a huge amount of work on this and pretty much gave up his job. Also, Rod Knowles was a critical component of our effort, and John Butler put together all the audio-visual stuff. And Bob Hopkins helped us with the VFW and the American Legion and getting the word out to other people, which at several points along the way, we were worried that the word had not gotten out, but evidently it did, because those people showed up. So I also want to thank, of course, Synovus Bank bankrolled the whole thing, no pun intended. And we tried to keep our expenses down to a very minimal amount. We're not sure exactly what the total is going to be yet, but it's a very, very modest amount of money. But Synovus picked up the tab, so it was not going to be a burden to AVVBA or to the foundation. The Chick-fil-A stepped up, furnished the lunches. The History Center provided us a venue early in the process so we could see clear to how this was going to happen, that we could really do this. We had a place to do it, so we could really make this happen. And so we thank all those people. And, of course, we have to thank Vietnam Veterans for Factual History. R.J. Del Vecchio, most of you heard him speak a year or so ago when he was here. And one thing I'd like to point out, I've been they have a magazine that they produce a couple times a year, I believe it is. They gave us these hard copies. Usually you have to pay about $100 for one of these. But you can download this off the internet. Go to vvfh.org. If you're interested in the history of Vietnam, or if you just think, maybe I'd like to see if some of the things I was involved in are written up in there, you can go on their website, flip through it. If you're not interested in anything they've got, forget it. If not, you can print it out and you'll have the same thing as this. It just won't be on slick paper. So we appreciate very much those guys came with no honorarium. No honorarium. We paid their expenses, that's it. They gave up their weekend and did a great job, I thought. It's vvfh.org. Victor, Vietnam Veterans for Factual History.org. The other thing I'd like to say is I brought some programs for those of you who weren't able to attend. Some of you were out of town or whatever. If you want a program, or if you have one, you want another one, they're on the table there. Just help yourself. We had plenty since I printed enough so we make sure we wouldn't run out. The other thing I'd like to tell you about this, it's pretty interesting, is that along about maybe a month ago, the History Center said to us, those guys coming into town for this, you think they'd be willing to be interviewed? Well, we talked to the speakers. They rearranged their schedules to come in a little early. The History Center has what they call a trunk show. Sue, correct me if I'm describing this incorrectly, but the trunk show is some of the employees of the History Center put together a package of printed materials, lesson plans, audiovisual stuff, and they send this out to the schools on a certain subject. It just so happens that right now they were putting one together on the Vietnam War. And they asked if we could have our guys come in and be interviewed for this trunk show effort. And they did come, and all Friday afternoon for about 4 hours, they were in the room being interviewed. And what a great way to leverage what we did Saturday, possibly to get the word in, the word that these guys, the way they see the Vietnam War, into the schools. It was a great thing, I think. Another way that's going to happen is we thanks to John's work in putting this all together, we had an audio of the whole thing done. We're going to put that together in some form. We're not sure exactly what, but it'll be something like a DVD or posted up on YouTube or something like that. It'll be available to be seen by other people who were not able to attend the meeting. So anyway, I appreciate all the help that we got from everybody. It made me think of the old days when we were doing memorials, and the family would come up to you afterward and say, "It's been 40 years. Nobody ever said anything to us about thank you, and yet y'all have, and thank you very much." And that's the kind of feeling we got out of this, because I had so many people come to me and say, "This has been a great event," and so you take credit for it. This organization does a lot of really cool things. And as you could see from the list a while ago, but I think this is one of them that we've done this year that will be meaningful, not just for this Saturday to people that were there, but for kids, hopefully kids in the schools and anybody who runs into this DVD or video in the future. Thank you very much.
And I will say that to me, one of the biggest blessings of this whole process was the opportunity to work together as a team and make this happen, because it took a lot of effort from a lot of people that put aside any, whose role is what. We just pitched in and got it done, and it was a great experience. The DVDs that he mentioned, we still have to figure out whether we're going to have a DVD with multiple chapters, there's going to be all kinds of things to work through, but we did have a professional videographer record the thing using high quality sound and video and everything, so it'll be good. I've heard we had a book project of some sort. I just heard rumors about it. Bob, would you give us an update on the book project?
Don't be shy. Okay, all right. If you have not turned in your story by now, the old Army term, Tango Sierra, it's too late. You have missed the boat. Do we have a slide? Do we have some slides? Remember when I first got up here in March, I believe it was, and we got some, Rusty sent me one of the pictures, Tony sent me stuff, and I beat you guys up until August. And suddenly, you got tired of listening to me, so you started doing something. And man, I have been overwhelmed. You, as a group, answered the call and have done a great job. I was hoping to have a 250, maybe 300-page book. We didn't make it. Next slide, please. How you like that hat? This is the official cover hat, and don't y'all try to steal it from me. We have 117 contributors, 165 stories. Those of you who aren't in the publishing industry don't know what 22,000, really it's about 230,000 now. You know how many words that is? A typical novel that you pick up and pay $19.95 for is between 70 and 90,000 words. 100,000 words is a bunch. So we have 2.5 novels, and it's going. Mark was still laying it out for me when I left to come over here. So we're going to be in the 650-page range. So when you think about it, that the price now, those that didn't take the early offer, because I was dumb pricing it before I knew what I had. I'm going to, everybody needs a loss leader. Even Kmart's got a loss leader, right? I do too. Anyway, don't think of $35 for a paperback book being too high. Think about 2.5 or 3 books for $35, which normally would sell for $19.95 each. You're getting $60 worth of value for 35 bucks. And I'm not trying to sell you books, because the book sells itself. What else is up there? The quality. I have read every word in the book multiple times. There is not a bad story in there. There is not anyone that I said, maybe I'll lose this one. When I did my first War Stories book, quick side story, the company RTO for my company sent me the most out to lunch, out in left field, crazy vet story. And when the book came out and he said, Babcock, where's my story? I said, Harry, I never got it. I lied. I didn't have to lie to any of you. But anyway, the quality is great. The wives who participated, the quality, it just adds to it. And some of us have read most of it. I'm the only one that's read the whole deal, I think. Vince, Mark, is Norman here yet? Where's Norman? There he is, walking in right back there. Those 3 guys are my editors. They volunteered. I didn't have to go out and hire professional editors, because it's great having professional editors who also know the military. So we've got that. I've been editing it. John Butler's been editing it. So it's well edited. And when we screw it up, I'm sorry. That happens. I mentioned their names. We got a great thing. We have had 366 of you, 366 books, not that many members, but 366 books were bought at the $19.95 price. So you gotta steal, believe me. Those of you who haven't bought, or those of you who only bought one and want more, don't think $35 is a lot of money for a book. You're getting 3 books for 35 bucks. Do I have another slide? $3 December, if you're here and paid for a book, you get one. If you come and haven't gotten a book, I'll sell you one or multiples for 35 bucks. But if you bought a book and you're not here 3 December, make arrangements to pick it up next time, because I'm not going to throw them away, but it costs to ship. What else? They are still on sale for pre-order. This will run through the 10th. That's Sunday the 10th. On Veterans Day, the order goes to the printer. So you can still buy them pre-order. You can still use the AVVBA code for pickup and not have to pay shipping, but that runs out next Sunday, 10 o'clock or midnight on the 10th of November. And let me just put a me too. Jim Dixon, you did a hell of a job on the symposium. Rod, you did a hell of a job on the symposium. Alan, John, a lot of you did. I was there, and I was thrilled to death to sit in that room with veterans. I met 2 people down there. One was a nurse from up by Asheville, said, I have never met another Army nurse since I got back from Vietnam. Well, I happened to publish a book for Lou Eisenbrandt, who spoke in here a couple of years ago. I'm going to link her up with Lou. So that's going to be a good deal. And then I saw another guy had a CIB, and I said, hey, man, where'd you earn your CIB? He said, play coup. I said, I'll be damned. So did I. He's a 4th Division guy. He served in the same unit as Mike Hamer later. He and I are going to become friends. So hopefully you all found some new friends there. John, what do you want me to talk about? You want me to just keep talking?
No, I don't.
Normally he hooks me and tells me, Babcock, shut up. Yes, sir.
Where can I get a hat?
Where can you get a hat? Where can you get?
I got one.
You know, you're not going to steal my hat. No, I tell you what you can do, what I did. Where do you go for everything? Amazon.
Okay.
And I've got another one that we're going to raffle off December 3rd. I got 2 of them. I've been trying to wear this, and Mark, just a second, let me give 1 more minute. My son Mark told me when our hat and our title both came from my wife Jan. I love the title. I'm ready to talk. And the hat, she said, that covers it all. Well, I only wear a 4th Division hat. I've never worn one of these things in 25 years. So I said, okay. And Mark says, we need a beat-up hat. And I said, son, we're not a beat-up organization. We are professionals, proud, patriotic professional. He never asked me again, but I've been wearing this blasted hat hoping it'd rain on it and make it a little bit more beat up. Didn't happen. I'll shut up. Hey, thanks everybody. This has been a great project. My last piece, books go through 3 phases. I've done 300 and some odd books. The first phase is my beautiful baby that's going to be so great. Then it hits a phase towards the end where you say, that damn book, I hate it. That's where I am right now. And then the next week, or maybe the end of this week, when I hold that book in my hand, it's like that baby, I love it again. So we're all going to love it.
John Fraser inspired me with a hat he owned. I bought one, and it says, dysfunctional veteran, leave me alone. So I've not figured out where I can wear it, but you can buy that on Amazon too. The last thing I want to talk about before I turn it back over to Dan, I'm sorry I'm taking so much time. Ed, can you bring up the one about the Veterans Day weekend? We have been very distracted. We've had a lot going on, wonderful things, the book, the symposium. This next weekend is the Veterans Day Parade. And I sent out a list of opportunities to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I got some responses. So let me just go through. You can see in red the things that we specifically should be, can be, ought to be involved in. Veterans Day Parade, 11:11 hours on Saturday. the AVVBA Family Lunch. I decided to change the name because it has become a family lunch for veterans who serve, AVVBA members who march in the parade, and family members who don't march in the parade. And it's a wonderful time to get together. It's a great excuse to sit around and have a good time together on a beautiful day in a beautiful place and drink German beer, if you're so inclined. That's right after the parade. I know Alan is going to have a bunch of family members there. I'm planning on bringing my wife. She doesn't know it yet, but I'm sure she'll agree. And I'm hoping that you all would come, whether you're going to march in the parade or not. I recognize the fact that some of us are older than we were last year, and marching in a parade, even if it's only about 7 blocks, is hard for us to fathom with our knees. I've got a case of measles myself. It's difficult to march for that, but I'm going to do it. Anyway, whether you're coming to the parade or not, I encourage you to sign up and show up for the Deerberg, that place, for lunch. The Veterans Festival, I have that in black. We're not necessarily as a group doing that. You can certainly welcome to do that. The Freedom Ball in the Oceans Ballroom at Georgia Aquarium, the evening of Saturday, the same day. And then the Atlanta History Center's Veterans Day ceremony is Monday on Veterans Day. It's always on Veterans Day, no matter what day of the week it is. So the next slide. Oh, I have it here. Sorry. I'll pretend I'm competent. Veterans Day Parade. We got 16 signed up so far. Actually, Pete Alexander signed up twice, so we have 15 signed up, unless he's going to bring somebody. That's not much of a unit, is it? It'd be like a squad, maybe 2 squads, yeah? It'd be nice to have a company rather than a squad. Even a platoon would be good. So I would really appreciate if you all rethink and make sure you sign up. I sent an email, I'll send another one. There's a link. That link is our new favorite friend, Eventbrite, and you can say yes or no, I want to be into the parade, yes or no, I want to do this, or how many or whatever, so do that. So we need more people signed up for the parade. The beer garden, we got 29 people signed up for that. That'll be a fun event no matter how many show up, but the more the merrier. Right now, we are assuming we can do open menu ordering. I'm going to send another email out. Don't get tired of my emails, folks. I mean, seriously, try to work with me on this. This is a very busy time of the year. I'm going to need to know if you want to have a buffet. There's probably a minimum that we have to give them to do the buffet. But one option absolutely is open is we can order off the menu and not worry about how many beers we're prepaying for example. Freedom Ball, only 8 signed up. We have 20 tables. We got 2 tables of 10 each signed up or reserved, and it's coming up. It's just this Saturday. The way that this has to work is I need to know, based on that Eventbrite, are you coming? Are you coming? And is it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people that's going to come to the Freedom Ball? And then I forward that. And then you also, as you'll see in your email, again, you do need to get on there and buy your tickets on the website for the Freedom Ball. The link is on the email I sent before, and I'll send it again. The reason I need to know is to make sure that Bob Hopkins puts us at the same table, so we're sitting together. So it's a little bit of a hassle, but it'll work. But you can pay online for the tickets, and you have Bob Hopkins. You had something you wanted to say? I'm so glad you're here. How short is the fuse, sir? By the end of the day today. What time do you need to know today? So seriously, what time? 10 o'clock. All right. So I've got to say, yeah. Look at your email and see if you can find, I mean, I'll send another one, but I'm not sure how quick I can get to it. But I really would like we need more participation in the Freedom Day Ball. And obviously what you just heard, we need to know today. So you need to buy your tickets, okay? And on Monday, we got 17 signed up for the Veterans Day ceremony at the Atlanta History Center on Monday. More the merrier, again. Yes, sir.
This will be our 7th annual Veterans Day celebration at the
Atlanta History Center Veterans Park. If you go down there, you bring 5 family members. The new cyclorama is included in your free entrance to the museum. It's $21 if you want to see the cyclorama for free. It's a great venue. Parking for our group will be across the street in Regions Bank parking lot. Monday is a government holiday. Traffic ought to be much better. Banks will be closed. That's why we got the parking lot. You got nothing better to do, so show up down there, all right?
Sue?
Celebrate our day.
I just wanted to mention, featured speaker is Admiral Wendy Carpenter, who came to
Admiral Wendy Carpenter spoke here several months ago. Very sharp young lady. Sharp lady, no, I shouldn't say young lady. But anyway, we got a quick announcement that Milton wants to make. It's apropos to what we've been talking about, and then we'll go back to Dan.
Very quickly, honestly, I didn't know Bob Babcock was going to be up here ahead of me, so he took my 3 minutes. In any case, I wanted to piggyback on Kerry's comments regarding Veterans Court. Veterans Court is the reason I'm a member of AVVBA today. I happened to encounter Scott Delius, who somehow or other said, I got something I want you to see. And I came there. Subsequently met Ron Sherman. Subsequently at another event, I met Mark Walker, who said, hey, by the way, you ought to come by AVVBA. I learned while I was starting out at Veterans Court about 4+ years ago that AVVBA really initiated this thing. I thought it was such a great project and service that I wanted to be a part of an organization that served in this manner. Along the way, right about the same time, I ended up meeting Dan Holtz. I was told I was leading a recognition of Vietnam veterans' 50th. We had about 150 who had registered, about 99 who actually showed up for West Side Atlanta. Dan was there as our speaker, and folk thought I should know him. I said, I'm going to hang on to that guy. So I ended up here at AVVBA because of Veterans Court, and to my knowledge, I'm probably that lone mentor who just had a mentee graduate Friday. After 4 years in a program that ought to have been 18 to 24 months. But we went with him the entire way. Thank you.
And the judge finally is going to let him off probation, so he's in good shape now. I had something else. Assembly, yes. The assembly area for the parade is the same it has been for several years. I am going to send out a follow-up email with the map, but it's right by that First Methodist Church, I believe it is, on that corner. You'll get that. It's the same as it's been before.
Our membership vice president is at a reunion at West Point, I believe, right? And as you can see, we're right at 274 members that are active. We're down. We had been up around 302, 310, thereabouts. But as somebody said earlier, we're all getting a little bit older, and I know that's having an impact. But if you run into somebody who, like I did on Saturday, who is a friend of mine from another organization, unfortunately, he lives further away from me, from here than I do, and I'm in Douglasville, and he's in Carrollton. But I think I got him at least thinking about joining AVVBA. So, put a hand out, invite. We'll keep the membership going. Mike's lovely bride is back there at the table. She's got the little business cards that we have. If you don't have some of those and would like to get some, she's got some. Be happy to let you have one. John Bird.
Yes, sir.
What would you like to tell us about the website?
It's up, alive, and functional. That's all.
Any questions for John before he runs out the door? Okay. All right, Alan, one more time. Come talk to us about the foundation.
The foundation is coming to the end of our year as well. Our term of office is 2 years, so we'll be in the next 6 weeks or so coming up with nominations, so figuring out who's going to be on the board from here forward and coming up with nominations for the officers for the board to select. That's about the only thing we've got going now, now that the symposium is over. Any questions? Rabbi, the answer to your question is priorservice.com for the hat. Thank you.
Okay. Priorservice.com. Okay, I don't know if we have anything that anybody wants to bring up. All right, the main thing that we do at our annual business meeting is we elect members to the board of directors. The guy who handles that is our chairman emeritus, John Douglas, has had that job now for a couple of years. Or actually, yeah. And so he's here again today to offer up the report of the nominating committee. John?
Thank you. Just a recap, the bylaws say that the nominating committee is supposed to have 5 members, including the chairman. And so in addition to myself, there was Bob Babcock, Ham McDonald, Clyde Romero, and Vince Corcoran. We presented a slate to the full board last month, and that was approved. And so we have 4 positions to fill going forward, and these are 3-year terms. So as I call your name, if you would come up here, please. The 4 nominees are Ed Woods, Kerry King, Bob Hopkins, and our 4th is Lawrence Benson, Larry, and as you heard from Mark's report earlier, he had surgery and is not here. But these 4 gentlemen have agreed to serve for a 3-year term, and I would like to place their name in nomination. If you have anyone else, they need to have been have their okay. Is there any other nominations?
Move the nominations be closed.
All right. Move. Second. All right. Nominations are closed. I move that the 4 names that I have mentioned be elected as directors for the next 3 years by acclamation. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, gentlemen.
Okay, one last chance. Does anybody have any new business that they want to bring up? Okay, what I'm going to do is adjourn the business meeting.